Hey guys, welcome to the woods. Another beautiful day. Oh my gosh. All right. So, what can I tell you? I didn't make a video yesterday, which I really like doing it every day better. But it takes pressure off. You just kind of, it's my thoughts for the day. Sometimes you like, I just want to pick one day or 2 days or 3 days a week and make a video. But then you got to really put some meat into it, and then it can kind of get too long, and So here I am now explaining why I wasn't here yesterday. So I'm probably going to be here every day. But I think a little quick, less time, 10, 15 minutes dose of remind you who you really are is good for everybody. It's good for me to say, it's good for you to hear it. The only thing I would add to that is I don't think you can really get the full benefit out of it if we don't get some of the language and the process out of the way and how I feel this all works and why it's important to practice these things that I'm going to keep reminding you to be practicing. So we'll get into that later. But the point is, I like to start with the helicopter view and really remind yourself that you are an energy ball. And you can get some simulation, some consistency to your vibration, improvements in your harmony, whatever you want to call it, by being aware of your breath. And putting your breath in a rhythmic cycle that you're comfortable with and letting your rib cage totally relax and then relaxing everything. Sort of like you do sometimes when you're going to bed. I'm going to relax my feet, then I'm going to focus on my shins, then I'm going to focus on my knees, then I'm going to focus on my legs, then I'm going to focus on my hips, then I'm going to get to my face, and you get to your face after doing it for like half an hour, and you're like, oh yeah, it was a little tight. And it's like we don't even know that we're keeping tension in our body most of the time because we're busy, and that's fine. So we know, really, though, we're an energy ball. If we can calm the energy, calms the body. Calm the body, everything relaxes. So it's the energy causing the matter, not the other way around. So we never got taught this, no big deal. But it's a simple process of everything perfect. All possibilities are just outside in your ethers. You get what you resonate with. If that's a tricky one, I know I'm going to lose a lot of people right there, but what you become harmonious with, you could say, well, what if I said, what you got educated in, you'd say, well, that makes sense. Yeah, I went and got an education in neuroscience, and now I'm bringing out the beauties of neuroscience and how we can dial in this other 95% of our brain that we don't really even know what it does, don't even know how the thing works, but we do know now, we have technology, that it's filtering and playing out here in the ethers. Your mind bounces off other people's minds. We know that now. So the cool thing is to sort of think sometimes about like the evolution of the message, like in the 60s with the love childs and, just smoke marijuana, everything will be fine. And then we all said, that's the only thing I'm never going to let you do. And now here we are smoking marijuana again. But my point is that when you get up into like the 80s, that's when I kind of got into the new age stuff. But I've heard, in the late 70s, I definitely was reading stuff on Edgar Cayce and different people like that. So I was already pretty much deep into this stuff. As far as just understanding who I really wasn't into anything. It was like, whatever. But I think at that point, I definitely felt like I was sort of playing with the, like, is there a God who's sort of upset with us? Did Jesus come here and tell us that we were, unless we met some criteria, we're sort of doomed, and I'll be back? And, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back, It's like, is that what we've got to worry about? I didn't really know, but I think everybody's got that narrative in their head. Some people let that be the main character in their life, and other people say that character doesn't even exist. And I think that's an important thing to sort of chew on a little bit. Is there something we have to watch out for? Is, the teachers that I've encountered have all said, back from Edgar Cayce, 80 more years ago, who told us about the fact that we were energy balls and the effects the planets had on us and things like that. And how we're, energy beings that travel around different parts of the galaxy and get different training, sort of balancing, tunings of your energy vibration. We're just bouncing around, mixing with the vibration. You have to sort of mesh the vibrations that you want to be a part of. So from that kind of helicopter view, nothing you really need to do. You don't need to go anywhere. The only thing to say would be that planet Earth, which travels 24,000 years around the galaxy, as a whole solar system spinning around, it travels 24,000 years around. And different parts of it have different things. It's much like winter, summer, spring, fall. And in winter, it's a very cold, low vibration, and so we get very fear-based, if you wanted to call it that. But really, we just sort of, that's where we are. We're at a lower frequency. And so you have a world of very much matter is everything, and you're subject to matter, and you can't use your secret powers. You're not using the other 95% of your brain because your frequency can't penetrate the frequency of a lower vibration. So we just become a society that adapts in lower vibration, like bugs underground who freeze for the winter. Just chilling. So anyway, but now is like the thawing of the planet, the 24,000 year journey. If you said 12 o'clock was the peak of our enlightenment and 6 o'clock was our darkest time, which they call the Dark Ages, that's about the time on it, we're a few thousand years up. But it's a gray area where that really bottom is. But anyway, we're heading in, so it's like spring thaw. It's a kind of magical point on our planet where we can really adapt very quickly to this higher frequency and become much more comfortable, adapt, happy, helpful, ultimately intelligent. But that once you start tapping in, you're just like, what do I really need to know? I need to allow, I need to accept, I need to feel worthy of. That's a kind of a weird thing. It sort of ties in with fear. It's like unworthiness is part of that lower vibration. It's a good one to sort of think about for bumping up. We have a narrative in a lot of our religions and a lot of our culture about unworthiness. I mean, if you look at our, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 years, each of those stages in our history, people were much more about not being worthy. We've become more and more worthy. Worthiness is one of those sticky points. How do you define what fear is really? It's like, different for everybody. But maybe the unworthiness is a good one to push along, because that sense that there's something outside of us trying to do harm to us and our unworthiness, those two mixed, you're done. So you've got to get past that paradigm before we can have little quickie reminder videos. We're energy balls. There's nothing that can happen to us. So here's some fun things that are going on to sort of make you say, well, maybe Dan's right. Back, 80 years ago, Edgar Cayce, 40 years ago for me, I read when he said, I was reading about The Origin and Destiny of Man. It's a book that's made about him, because he just sat in a trance, blacked out cold, and they asked him questions and he regurgitated and basically went to the Akashic records, like where the library of all knowledge is. Now that's his mind going there, and that's how he described it, but other minds have gone there and described it the same way. So it's sort of maybe what the bigger version of the collective consciousness has decided that environment looks like for the viewer. So, but it's energy. So he transfers that energy back out of his mouth, and they did a stenographer from day one. He figured out that through a trance he could do this because he healed himself first. He lost his voice, so he couldn't speak because he wasn't doing the job he was supposed to do with his life. He really had a direction in his life. So he's like, all right, your body said you won't be able to talk if you don't get out of sales. You need to go and start working on giving this gift to the world. So he said, all right, cool. And he'd had other little weird incidents with seeing angels and stuff like that when he was younger. But anyway, and so he went all in. He didn't ask for this curse. It really didn't benefit him much of anything other than his feeling obligated to help everybody. So he overdid it, and the beings from the other side, the energy that he was tapping into, the collective consciousness, was telling him, you're doing too much. You're going to die young. And he died young, and he did too much. But that's what happens when you get a hold of this ability to really be helpful. You're just like, I see the struggle of others around me. I'm going to just be all in. It's why Jesus sacrificed everything. It's what happens. You come in, you get tuned in, tapped in, turned on, you're the sacrificial lamb. But that sounded scary a little bit, didn't it? It's not. It's blissful. It's wonderful. Jesus came here and said, not I'm God and follow my rules and go through this. Here's the book to tell you how to do it. No, it's like, you are exactly who I am. Things I'm doing, you will do, and more. Heaven is coming. I'll see you again. There's no negative message in there. And then we get these 10 commandments, and it's like they aren't even really, doesn't mean 10 commandments, it meant 10 ways of being. So it sort of describes it like road marks or landmarks or road signs along the way of your own spiritual journey. But the spiritual journey is an internal thing. It's a one-man show. You got to go in yourself, and you got to just get in a comfortable environment, give yourself some downtime, and just go into whatever attracts you. And you will naturally, right on, tuned in, just you'll pick up the frequency, you'll start to get a feel for it. And then you need, it's good, need anything, but it's good if you're interested in going that direction of getting a reminder every day, who you really are and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. So that's what I think I'm going to do. All right. So I was going to tell you about Edgar Cayce. And again, at the beginning, I got a lot of stuff to throw out there. I'll try to say them again in other talks so we kind of remember these things. But Edgar Cayce told me, 40 years ago in his book about the origin and destiny of man, about advanced beings that were on the planet prior to us. Well, that ties in with the Indians' version from India of, I think the Yuccas or whatever. There's a book that I read about it. But, and I've seen it other places too. But anyway, there's this 24,000 year journey of the planet and that it's low vibration and all that stuff. They told it from that side. Well, it corresponds to the same time that basically Jesus came here, right before the darkest time, to say, hang on, it'll be okay. You'll be all right. And we are all right. We're better than all right. So we've been moving along, and so Edgar Cayce, this is the point I wanted to make. Edgar Cayce said, someone asked him if there's aliens. What's up with aliens? And he's like, yeah. And he'd see spirits who had passed, would show up at his, when he would talk to people about this type of stuff. He would see other past beings that needed a little more coaching to sort of move on, and how that all ties in is a whole nother story, but it doesn't really make any difference. But there's just more magical things going on is what I really want to explain to you. So Edgar Cayce answers the question about are there aliens, and he says yes, but don't pay him any attention. Now, here's a guy who was born, was a teacher in religion and read the Bible every year of his life, and he was just one of those really committed to the whole church thing, and was taught that reincarnation didn't exist. And then when he gets in his channel, he starts talking about reincarnation and past lives and the origin, the traveling of the planet and our energy balls going to other planets for teachings and stuff like that. And so I heard all that stuff way, way long ago, along with so many other miraculous things that he came up with on the health side. Most people just know about him from the health side. But the spirituality side and all that is really much, more interesting to me. But here's my point. He said don't worry about him. Meaning like, it's whatever. So let's just fast forward. Now, there's been people sort of hollering about aliens being found and governments getting computers from them and things like that and all this cover-up stuff, forever. And so I'm always thought back then, I'm like, well, yeah, they're out there, but Edgar Cayce said whatever. And so now I'm getting into other spiritual teachers and people who are connected, Abraham Hicks and, but a lot of them, it's another group. Abraham is Esther Hicks's language interpreting that she does. That's a terrible way to say it. But you're just interpreting a vibration around you. You're not being whispered into your ear with a message to pass to somebody. You just get tuned into the vibration and you try to put it into words as best you can. So she's doing a bang-on job of doing it. But so many people have before, and there's so many people more doing it now. So my point was this, that I found out recently that the government put out some stuff saying, yeah, okay, we definitely have aliens. And it sort of went through the news blurb and like nobody, nothing. And I'm like, I've been sort of carrying that narrative all my life. So, but the point was with some of these new channels are saying, or mediums and whatever else, who people are just tapped in and want to regurgitate what they feel as much as they possibly can. And it's not an exact science of something. They're interpreting a vibration, and all vibrations are out here. If you got a fearful being who wants to tap in, you'll tap into a fearful narrative. So if you want to hear about a Jesus who's coming back to get us, and a God who can't wait to punish us, then you can pull that narrative out of the ethers. It's out there. It doesn't make it a reality. It's all out there. You just have to decide where it is that you want to play on this paradigm, which I've said, probably 100 videos ago. All you got to do is bump up 10%. You bump up 10% and it's like, I'm good for a bit. That really feels good. I really feel like I don't have a tiger ready to pounce on me. And I've lost all my fear of trying things and doing things and being all I can be. And I don't really care what people think about me anymore, and I don't care which way things unfold. They're going to unfold as they unfold. It's like a stock. You look at it, like, all I can say is where it is. Where it is perfect. Flip up or flip down? I don't know. Nobody does. It doesn't matter. So when the stock's right here and it flips down, then that's what it was supposed to do. Now it's here. Where is it going from there? Oh, it's going down? Fine. Going down, then it's going up, and then it's going up, or it's going up and down. Whatever. It's just doing what it's doing. Life is evolving as life evolves perfectly. It'd be like you'd have to mess up the spinning of the planets to change really what's going on here. So we're not going to change what's going on here. We can just tune into a better version of the experience we have around us, and you can just do it yourself, and you're done. And you don't have to suffer. Now, can you learn it that fast? Can you downgrade that? Can you download that vibration? That's what they say is the way we're going to be teaching real soon. Words don't teach. You got to experience something. So I can give an experience through a vibrational transfer. And that's how teaching's going to happen. I mean, real soon. That's why the technology's here and the brainwave frequency readers and all that to give us the biofeedback so that we can say, I see how I think this way and it affects my program. My app picks up on it. That's not going to be hard to do. And my app will steer me a little bit to say, I can tell the difference. My body does feel more rejuvenated and more revitalized, and my sleep is better, and I don't even need to sleep as long. And I have clarity, and I have just blissful experiences all day long. And you don't need drugs to do it. And you definitely don't want to be using drugs as a crutch to get by when you don't have a good sense of yourself. So if you're needing drugs to get by, then this paradigm shift will solve that. Now, yes, they can, it was an interesting story. You might as well know about it. 2 fun ones wrote. No, I'll just tell you one today. I'll tell you the other one someday. It's better than this one. But anyway, there was a guy found an old, ancient. Remember, we had more advanced people from long ago, and there was a person found thousands of years old or whatever, and he has a little pouch on his hip that has mushrooms in it. And I think that's been found a few places, and a bunch of cultures have had something about that. Everybody sort of has their drug. But anyway, they say mushrooms had a lot to do with our ecological, our spiritual enlightenment, our advancement of our brain, and kept our brain sort of in its magical properties alive and well. Because we're going more into a mind that's a lot less about thinking and doing, and a lot more about feeling and experiencing. And that scares a lot of people. So I get it. But being afraid of technology, or being afraid of aliens out there, or being afraid of dying, or being afraid of God coming to get you, or being afraid of all that stuff, how does that make any sense? So I'll leave you with this last thought. If we're trying to push a direction of allowing and accepting that we're an energy being on an energy ball called planet Earth, that we can only do so much, but we can lean a little bit towards not needing to pull out a fear-based narrative and bombard our brainwaves with fear-based narrative, and we could choose a more accepting, loving narrative. All right, so when you're looking at something like the news, I think everybody would say it's basically the who did it wrong, or what went wrong, or whose fault is it. That's a fear-based narrative. There's nothing needs to be fixed. You got to hold that sense of the story, and then see the drama of the soap opera play in front of you, but not in a like joking at everybody kind of way. It's just like, hey, this is the game. This is who we are. And I just got to work on my sense. And it's going to follow all around the planet. That's my last point I should have made too about those aliens. They're basically sending love bombs to the planet. And they've been doing it for a bit, I think, because nobody put it in these words, but it's not so much I think, but that the planet moving around the galaxy is at that magical point, like defrosting, where all of a sudden we don't have frost of the topsoil, and all the flowers are going to start popping, and the plants are going to start coming, and we're going to start using this brain to do all the magical stuff that it knows how to do, that the people who lived on the planet before us did. We know way back in history there's a whole bunch of things that don't add up. It's like caveman didn't build the pyramids, you know? It's like, anyway, and they're much older than we think they are. That's one of the other things. That Edgar Cayce said that to me like 40 years ago. You know, your timing of how you measure how old something is a little off. And I hear scientists now talking about that. But, and it might be just for certain types or whatever. I definitely am very intrigued by the sciences, but I don't push that direction because I'm really pushing the direction of you don't want to try to figure this out. You'll waste it. It's like a squirrel chewing on the shell of the nut. It's like that's not where the nut is. You're just chewing on the shell. Drop that. Now go get the nut and eat. All right, 20 minutes. That's a long one. But I really think we're making progress. We can just get to some quick language and it'll be short videos. All right. See you guys. Love ya. Throw love bombs. Don't forget.